Alright, that solder is all in place and done. Now let's see if I can get this solder tab positioned correctly. This is the earth side, the ground side of the flash sink. There we go, that's done. Just run that wire over there neatly. Quite happy with the state of that. Let's have a quick look at this front panel. I'll give this a quick clean. A lot of marks on here. I think that's probably glue I'm seeing here squeezed out. I'll see if I've got some solvent that'll tidy that up a bit. Well, it's pretty reluctant to move. I'll try a little touch of acetone on there and see if that'll help. All I'm doing here is tidying up work because this is a mess of somebody else's making, really, this glue. I'd just rather it wasn't squeezing out around the edges. And this, of course, is something that whoever had applied that glue should have done themselves. One of the rules basically of camera repair is it's not only should the camera be in good going order after you've finished servicing it, but it should look like it's been serviced. In other words, it should be neat and tidy and clean. And free from things like this glue that's been splashed over things. Yeah, that's two different lots of glue there. They were different colours. Yeah, you wouldn't want to go mad splashing solvent round on these panels. Just wiping it on the places you need to wipe it, because these dress panels on the front here, they are renowned for coming adrift and getting lost. So I would certainly not be splashing huge amounts of solvent around there, just to see the back of a little bit of glue, just enough to see that glue off. That's good. That looks much tidier. It's that edge there, I can just see a little bit sticking up. That's better. Now we can get one side in okay, but at the other side. It just doesn't want to tuck down in here properly. Maybe if I take the prism off, will that make it any better? Yep, I think that'll do the job. So, 4 screws hold this trim panel in place. Last 2. After this, I've got to deal with the front rings of the shutter. The alternative finder for these cameras is a waist level finder, and makes them probably, well, you probably say it makes them a little bit more flexible than the alternatives of the time, which would have been your retina reflexes, your contraflexes, your besomatics and so forth, because it had the waist level finder option. The cameras were sold with a waist level finder or with a prism finder, and they were given different model numbers in that case, even though basically the camera was the same camera. Right, let me have a look at these front rings. These will all be dirty and will need some cleaning. So this contrast is a bit high here. I'm just going to knock that back a bit. I could put a reflector in, but it's easy to pull the curtain across. Right, so the shutter speed ring, I'll just clean that. Bit grimy. Of course, it's quite normal for control rings on the front of the camera to get quite grimy. They are open to the atmosphere and open to all the dirty fingers in the world. Put that in position. There's the tab is there. Yeah, those click stops are nice and smooth. No trouble at all. Some of these, fighting these pieces into place is no fun. Particularly these three. These two in particular. I'll clean them up. Now I think that this little wavy washer was actually an upside down when we started. It wouldn't have made for smooth action. And the focus mount itself, the lens mount at the front, let's get that cleaned up. This was particularly grimy. So I'm just using naphtha here to clean this stuff up, and mostly I'm shifting dust and probably some dried grease. Inside surfaces, trying to get into some of those places is difficult, but a stiff paintbrush can be the answer for getting into areas like that, to sweep stuff out from underneath. Right, so far so good. Let's try some of this. So this ring, it's going to give this a light white with molybdenum inside and out on those faces. Just a very light wipe on the top and bottom surfaces. I don't want that sticking to anything. It fits on here. There's a notch in the ring here that this fits into. And then this fits on here. Now, where's my little... There's a gear that goes in there. That little pinion. And that couples to it. And that should start right about there, I think. Trying to get this seated in its channel. There's a channel in the front of this thing that this ring should sit into. Trying to get it to sit in there. Can be trying. Going to get this lever here onto that side of that bracket. That's right. Is that coupled with the gear? It is, but it's not sitting down in place. See this track, there's a curved track here, and this arm, there's a pin on this arm that needs to couple into that. Like that. Oh, miracle of miracles, I got it in position correctly first time. I'll run a bit of molybdenum paste down that slot where it runs on that pin. And this spacer sits in here, round a bit from there so that that can drop into the groove. This piece, give that an extra good clean because the numbers on that are a bit hard to see. See if we can get this ring nice and clean. That looks okay. That's in position. And the front ring, I'm just putting a bit of molybdenum paste on that spring tab there. That's in position. I'm holding this down with fingers and thumbs. That's all working. There are 4 screws that hold that front lens mount in position. I'll get 2 screws in to hold everything and check it again. It's setting the aperture, that ring moves smoothly, shutter speed moves smoothly. I can change the film speeds there okay. The last 2 screws in position. All 4 screws are in position now. I can tighten them up. There's sort of a speck of dust sitting on that shutter. That sounds very, very good. Right, that's good and positive. It's working smoothly. The camera body, I'm very happy with that. That shutter is fine. The lens, just looking at the lens that came with this camera. I'm not doing anything to the film advance of that camera. That seems to work fine. Just looking at the aperture here. That's moving quite well. There's a bit of an oily patch on there, but I don't know that it's really contributing at all and causing me a problem. The focus is smooth, probably a bit stiffer than I'd like. I can unscrew that rear group by the looks of it. Yes, I can. Alright, well if I can unscrew the rear group, hopefully I can unscrew the front group and just as easily. And then I can clean the diaphragm with cotton buds and a bit of naphtha. I can see that that front group comes right up to the blades. And there's virtually almost no clearance between the blades and the front group. I'd like to get to both sides of that, and I can see that the back of that front group did probably do with a little bit of cleaning. It's not bad by any means. And the rear group, looking at this, you know, it's pretty good. It'll probably benefit from cleaning, but not by much. Right, I need to get that front group loose. Right, I'll try this lens spanner and see if I can get that front group to move. Yeah, it looks like it's unscrewing. It's loose. See if I can spin it the rest of the way with a toothpick. There it is. So the front group's out, the rear group's out, and I can see my diaphragm blades down there smoothly now, easily. There's a bit of dirt in this mount. Not sure what that's all about. Probably just dried grease that's got in there. It's there may be some paint. No, it looks more like grease. That's quite dirty. I'll certainly have to clean that. It's a bit odd, really. That's okay. Right, these diaphragm blades. Yeah, I'm just taking a bit of naphtha on a cotton bud. Just wiping them very gently. Now, not much is coming off. That tells me that there's not much on there. That's a good sign, of course. Those marks really aren't lifting off, which probably means they're wear marks where the blades have run over each other and the edges of the blades have marked the blades they run over, rather than being oil marks. I'm opening this slightly with my finger to expose more of the blades, or different parts of the surfaces of the blades if you like, to make sure I'm getting good cover. And it also allows me to check the action and decide whether it feels smooth or sticky in some fashion. It's got quite a strong return spring, so that the diaphragm will snap down to the set aperture promptly when the camera allows it to, which is good. Just cleaning around the back of the lens mount here. The lens is probably cleaner than the camera body. I don't think in this case it's worth diving into the focus helical. All of this is, it's in pretty good shape really. I think that's fine. So, let's have a look at this front group. There's certainly a lot of dirt or something around that edge. I suspect actually that may be some black paint there that somebody may have applied some paint to that edge. Perhaps there was a scar in the front there. Perhaps when somebody had unscrewed this previously, they'd made a mess of it and scratched the paint, and so have recovered it up with some matte black paint. I suspect that's the case. I would rather have that paint off those edges, because those are edges that'll stop me screwing that lens in smoothly. And of course they're not going to cause any light reflection problems. Where's my acetone? I'll just clean this. I think someone was just a bit heavy-handed with the paintbrush there, for no apparent reason. I'll clean those glass surfaces, get that front one back in. Cleaning the inside face first. That's fine. The outside doesn't look promising. I'll get this back in position, then see what I can do about that front surface. That screws nicely into position now that I've removed all that unnecessary black paint. I'll just lock this into position. That took no effort at all. Now this front glass surface. I've got two different packets of cotton buds on the go here. My favourite brand was not at the supermarket, so I grabbed 3 samples of 3 other brands to see what they're like. Some cotton buds are useless with this sort of work. They're far too hard. They're just like little blocks of white wood on the ends of wooden sticks. Well, it's an improvement, but it's not wonderful. I'll just try, see if some of the marks on the front there may be deposits of something. I'm just going to try a little bit of acetone, see if that shifts it. No, that's making absolutely no impression. No, that's not the answer. I will try some, what's this stuff? Trichloroethylene. We'll try some trichloroethylene. See if that makes any impression on the imperfections. The imperfections look like tiny droplets. It's probably had some contamination, something that's landed on the lens, I would think. Spray most likely. Yeah, not a good result. Still, it is what it is, unfortunately. Okay, make sure we get all the dust out of there. The rear group looked much better. which also points to that being spray or something that got on the lens, some atmospheric contaminant, that the rear group was not subject to the same. I'd have said sea spray, but of course there's not any sign of any serious corrosion on this camera, so I just don't know what to make of that. This rear group was fairly loose. That, I think, is going to have to do for that one, unfortunately. Well, everything's opens and shuts nicely. Shutter's working very well. And of course, the shutter was the problems with the shutter was what brought the camera to me. It's because the shutter was intermittent, and at the slow speeds it was very, very intermittent. I'll just clean that prism. Oh, not the prism, the condenser. And the eyepiece of the prism is fairly predictably marked up, not unlike the lens. The prism face, of course, and below is actually in very, very good order. No marks at all. Alright, I'm calling that one done. Thanks for watching.